Hi, everyone. It's Dorothy Simone here again. In this session, I want to introduce you to the directions for completing remedy comparisons. Before we begin, I'd like to make sure that you have the materials that you may need to refer to during this session. So attached to your Module 2 email was a set of directions for remedy comparisons. And I'd like you to have that handy. And also, if you scroll down or if you've printed out that set of directions, at the bottom, there is a sample comparison for Aurum and Mercury, which is what we're going to be looking at today. And you need Morrison's desktop guide and Vermeulen's Prisma. So if you have those things, then we'll get started. The old masters tell us that one of the best ways to study remedies is by comparing them. So that's what we're going to do. And we do this throughout the program because it is a good way to look at two remedies and figure out what's similar about them and what's different. And of course, the more you process and work with remedies, the more they become part of your being and you remember them and are very familiar with them. So again, we're focusing on keynotes, just like we do with the remedy exercises. Again, this is about forming basic understanding of the remedies. There are lots of smaller symptoms that you can use in comparisons, but we're not going down that road. We're just using keynotes for this, for these comparisons that we do throughout the program. So you're going to end up with a chart that looks like this, and you're going to have 3 columns. So in one column, you're going to list mental, emotional, physical, general, and modalities, just as we do in the keynote exercises. But you'll have 2 sections. One section is similarities and one section is differences. And it's very easy to set up this chart if you use the insert table from your keynote at the top of your computer. You can do 3 columns and you can add as many rows as you want, and then you can always delete and you can always add rows. So there's a great deal of flexibility. So the first thing that you want to do is look at your 2 remedies that you're going to compare. And I would pick the one with the smallest, the fewest keynotes, because that will make your process easier. So pick the one with the fewest keynotes from Morrison, and then write those keynotes in for remedy A. So remedy A in this case is Aurum, and I've started writing the keynotes for the mental emotional symptoms. Okay, now sometimes the mental emotional symptoms are pretty long and they have more than one idea in them or more than one concept. So I like to split them up a little bit because it makes it easier then to match something from the other remedy. And it also helps you to kind of hone in on the idea. So in this instance, I separated serious, successful, intimidating from melancholic demeanor, because I thought those might be a little bit different. So then I just completed the list of keynotes. So this is all the keynotes for Aurum, and you can abbreviate them a little bit. We like to use that greater than and less than sign. It helps make things simpler and less wordy. Don't change wording, but you can certainly abbreviate and shorten things that make it better to fit into a chart format. So the next task is to match symptoms. So we have all of our keynotes for Aurum set down. So now we're going to go to Morrison and look at Mercurius, and match the symptoms to the symptoms in Aurum that have a match. Now, mainly a syphilitic remedy, and syphilitic remedy, that's a no-brainer. We don't even have to think about that. Those are going to be directly comparable and obviously a similarity. But you're going to find symptoms that are not a direct match. And so you're going to look for something that relates the two symptoms. So for instance, outbursts of anger and internal impulses that are often violent and destructive. So I would put those two together. You have to decide at some point, is that a similarity or is it different? And people have different ideas about that, and that's okay, as long as there's a logic to what you're doing. So pain so bad they hint at suicide. I put that with worse heat and cold because Mercurius has so many aggravations. It doesn't drive them to suicide, but there's a lot of aggravations for Mercurius. So I lined that up with Aurum just because I want to think about that. And also Aurum has that idea of suicide. So I kind of want to keep that in my head. Nasal obstruction and severe sinusitis. I lined that up with otitis media and pharyngitis. They're itises, but they're different. Aurum is better in the evening. Mercurius is worse at night. So that's an obvious comparison for aggravations. Moaning in sleep and night sweats. So those are both things that happen at night. So I lined those up, and I would put those under differences when we get to that point. So now I've taken all the things from remedy B, Mercurius, which I think I can line up with symptoms from Aurum. So the next step is that I am going to delete everything from the Aurum side, all the rows that had Aurum symptoms for which I do not have a match for Mercurius. So all of a sudden my chart has shrunk considerably. So now I have a set of comparisons, but what I don't have, I haven't decided whether they're similar or different. So that's my next job, is to decide whether the symptoms that I've directly compared are similar or different. So I've put a syphilitic remedy, obviously goes in similar, and I put serious, successful, intimidating with introverted, closed, and intense. They're not exactly the same, but they're comparable. Now, outbursts of anger, you could decide whether it's similar or different. That's fine. It could go in either category. So all I've done here is rearrange them, and you can cut and paste, which is very easy, or add a row and cut and paste into that row and move your comparisons around, deciding whether they're similar or different. And that's very easy to do on the computer. So now you have your comparison done, basically. So now what you want to do is go back and think about the two remedies. So what are the main similarities and the main differences? What characterizes Aurum and characterizes Mercurius? For example, Aurum is intimidating and successful. Merc is introverted and intense. So what about the aggravations? So let's go back and look. So Aurum is better in the evening, but Mercurius is worse at night. And what about physicals? Oh, we've got those night sweats and moaning in the sleep. And we've got sinusitis for Aurum, and pharyngitis and otitis media for Mercurius, and boring headaches for Aurum, those horrible headaches. And then Mercurius, which is characteristic of mercurius is this metallic taste and offensive breath and excessive saliva. So you want to then think about what are the big ideas that compare these two remedies, and what differences would I look for? Because those differences are going to be very important when you're doing cases. Because the similarities will say, oh yeah, I need to look at Aurum and mercurius, but the differences are what are going to help you figure out what is the best remedy for a case that you're working on. So in short, this is just one more tool to help you learn and understand the remedies. This is kind of, I think, a fun exercise. It really helps us to think about the remedies and to compare them and understand them better. So I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to receiving your comparisons for your remedies throughout the program. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.